Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to the other side of the wormhole. What didn't make it in the episode of the But Why Though, the podcast. Been a few weeks here since last did one. If you guys have not been, for those of you who have been following. So kind of refresher of how this goes. Kind of been busy, a little bit sick, but everything. Hoping to get back on schedule. And today is July 24th. So, this is basically... we do all these topics on our podcast, and sometimes we try to keep it down to about an hour or so, but obviously a lot of these topics we have a lot more to say, or maybe we mess up, or maybe people have questions, or there's just other stuff we feel like talking about within here. So that's what I do for this. So I take, today's episode's going to be on episode 26, Shark Week Matters. We can talk about sharks all day long, but obviously we had time constraints. So this will also be something you can find on our YouTube channel, so you can check it out there, or on Twitch, which we do live. So these are live, so it has some interaction with people, questions, comments, thing. We also take, basically, you hit us up on any of our social media networks, But Why Though PC on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Then that will also make its way into the show. As always, I'm your host, Matt, as I'm a host of this and a host of the But Why Though podcast, for those of you that are unfamiliar with me. So, now that I've kind of given everybody a little bit of refresher and whatnot, let's kind of start to dive into Shark Week. For those who don't remember, I have a giant notebook. I take a lot of notes. I do a lot of stuff. We have a little bit of music going on. I like it. Nice little chill music, hitting the vibes. I can like it. I can talk, think, it's cool. Something good. And whatnot. So we'll start off with Shark Week. We just released this basically, I think this was last week of July. Can't even think off the top of my head. 20 something or 17th or something like that. Be correctly. Now I gotta look it up real fast to be properly. July 19th. There we go. We did this in anticipation of Shark Week. Sorry, reading chat there. We did it in anticipation of the upcoming, the 29th and anniversary or 29th year that Discovery Channel will be doing Shark Week, which will started yesterday, July 23rd, 2017. And we'll start off with basically so far. Now, I didn't get to rewatch some of the shows yet. I'll probably check them out later as the week goes. For any of you that listen to the podcast, you kind of know I do not have cable television, so I have to follow everything and watch at a later time. But so far, what I have checked out and I have saw, at least for the week, is people sat around and waited 57 minutes to watch Michael Phelps race a shark, which turned out to be he raced a CGI shark. Boo. Terrible. One, the funny thing, people actually thought they were really going to let him race a shark. Like, he was legitimately going to win. He obviously lost to the CGI shark, but there was probably nothing that was going to happen. And then, they kind of gave him a chance because they had him race, I believe, against a great white at the time. And so, not really had much chance, but better chance. If they really wanted to, they could have had him race against the mako shark, which is the fastest shark of the sharks, which he wouldn't have had a chance at all. So that's about how we started off Shark Week, with a blah. From what I know, they're still kind of sometimes doing some of the I want to say fear-mongering, but type of stuff leading off, but we'll see how the rest of the week goes. I was hoping to do this episode a little later in the week, so I could get more of a feel of what they've done for this year, but due to scheduling and how it went, I'm going with it now. But it doesn't matter, because may miss some of, Shark Week year 29, but there's still 28 more weeks to talk about. We're not going to talk about 28 weeks. We'll be here for days. So we'll first start off, get into the dive straight into the episode. First off, I want to thank our guest, Kelly, from the Murder Dictionary podcast. She was a lovely guest and had a lot of fun hanging out with her. Had a lot of fun hanging out with her. Now we got to hang out with the second part of the Murder Dictionary podcast crew, which we hung out with Brianna for true crimes, which that other side of the wormhole will be taking place sometime soon, or should be released sometime soon. Probably end up taking place directly after this one, because obviously these are streams for people that are watching time or even later. But whatever. And now we'll be having Kate, the other host, should be on that one as well to help out with that one. Sometimes we do have some of our other hosts, Adrian or Kate, come on. If not, just me. So, but anyways, big thank you to Kelly. Kelly with 2 E's. 2 E's. She also realized living in California, the internet quality and connection quality can be a pain. It's crazy when we have guests on, or just being guests, is like how much, because everybody's in their own routine. Some people live in the same city together. We obviously have worked around it a little bit because we all live in different places, with Adrian living in El Paso, us in Austin, and other former guests whatnot living in San Antonio per se. But anyways, just we're used to having needing internet and doing ways of communication, dealing across thing. Whereas, if you live in the same city, you just meet up and do it. But yeah, so having some of these guests on be definitely an experience for sound quality and some other things. But it was all good though. We made it happen. She made it work. It was great. Glad to have her on. I'm sure you'll be hearing more from them as well. We've tried donating Kate to them. Brianna said yes. Kelly, probably not so much. Yeah, so we'll go back. We'll start off. We talked about, kind of our life experiences with sharks. Kind of hilarious. Apparently, Kelly's obviously, she said, I believe she swam with sharks for a while and obviously petted. Kate's pet the little baby sharks. Adrian had a great experience where him and his uncle left his aunt out to die if they saw a shark. That was exciting. Obviously, we talked about some of mine background and my interest in sharks and whatnot. It was cool because I kind of knew a lot about this stuff when I was researching, because I did a lot of the show notes for this thing, so I knew quite a bit of the background of some of the sharks information and whatnot. I guess I knew they were fascinating. They did some of the, they portrayed them in, I think we talked about how they talked about in the Aztec temples and how they were portrayed there and kind of, almost worship or sacrifice to the gods there. But I guess it was interesting to me because I always knew them from World War II and obviously the Jersey attacks, the quote-unquote rogue Great White. But I guess I never thought about it, that people really never had the perception of sharks, that people just never really cared about them until that time. And I guess it's just human nature of people don't really care about a lot of things until all of a sudden they show up and they bug them and then let's kill them. Probably bad to say. Yeah, Kelly apparently also, as I'm being told, also wanted to be a marine biologist. Haven't we all? That is, sadly, it's funny because I wanted to be a marine biologist as well one time. But it's just funny because the joke, and I guess also Seinfeld episode of everybody seen that, I want to be a marine biologist. I'm a marine biologist. But, yeah. Heard a lot, but yeah, so. I'm still amazed. It's still, woo! I probably talk about this now. This will be the 3rd time I talk about this. They did a whole entire horror episode. This thing was 2 hours long and did not mention Jaws at all, despite at its time was the highest grossing film of all time. And basically still one of the second highest grossing franchise film besides only Star Wars. Obviously of 2011, it might change now, but it just blows my mind. Maybe just because I love sharks a lot, and I like the first Jaws movie, but I still hate the first Jaws movie because of how much I knew growing up how bad that was for sharks. So, yeah. We talked about the population declines. If we get into population declines of sharks, it gets horrible and it gets very sad. Like I said, we talk about, people just yell at, 50%, 90%. Those are just random numbers, but we're talking millions. And I don't know if, I guess, if you would take that with the human species and decimate that by even let's say it's even 50%, Uh, my frames are good. I've had 0 frame droppage. Everything looked great. This is live for you guys. Sometimes we have to check the frames. We actually are in a storm. Lost my train of thought. But yeah, so yeah, we talked about shark population decimating by 50%, 90%, 75%, even some up to almost as much as 95, 98%. And people are like, oh my gosh, but to put that into perspective, there's what, about 7 billion people in the world or something like that? If we were to say we decline that by 50%, that's 3.5 billion people are going to die. That's insane. That'd be great for the Earth in some ways if you wanted to play that from a biological standpoint and for ecological standpoint. But yeah, that's just a lot of people that would be just dying and whatnot. I know we talked about it a little bit as well because I'm kind of just following along. Shark fin soup. I didn't really get into it a whole lot with the history, and I know we brought up a little bit more, but as much as Jaws and the Sphere kind of lead to a lot of, like the hunting and fishing and I guess per se murdering of sharks, it's now become for the most part because people are a lot more, I guess, aware and have a lot more, I want to say intelligent. When it comes to sharks, they're more aware for the most part. At least I guess the younger generations. There's still plenty of older generations that still think we're in World War II at this point. But yeah, but shark fin soup these days is definitely the biggest thing decimating sharks right now. Just people wanting to basically they get slaughtered, they slice off their fins, they put it in a soup. Apparently, it's a great delicacy. I don't know. I haven't had it. Don't plan to have it. I have eaten shark before, but that was more of like the actual shark. Like if you're looking at the picture on the screen, that way. Basically, that'd be like the actual flesh, not like we just hit the fin soup. So, which kind of leads to this whole idea. I think I talk about it at the very end, but I kind of want to talk about it a little bit more before I get into Shark Week stuff. Is this thing like this conservation and like this new conservation idea. I took quite a bit of conservation when I was in school courses. An ecological thing, and this whole idea, this is going to be very simplistic because obviously depending on how you look and whose view you're looking at, but a very simplistic way of saying this is it's where animals in the environment is everything is valued, one, monetarily, that means money wise, which is, you think about it and you're like, what the hell, where did you eat a shark? I ate it at my house. You can buy shark at the grocery store and cook it. But yeah, so this idea of everything relying around money, and this whole idea that ecology in natural habitats and I guess nature itself and natural sciences must revolve around benefiting humans. Which I try to see it, and I kind of get the point, but as a person who's been like studying biology for the last 10 years, it hurts my head, and kind of one of the things that's been bugging me about the direction of science and how it's gone. My field of botany. Yes, sorry. As I told you, we have great interaction. Yes, you can buy shark in the grocery store usually and cook it. It usually comes in like fish, like in the fish section. We do not eat fish, Kate and I, and plus I ate that probably a long time ago when I was a little child. So I don't like seafood, any type of seafood at all. So it's been quite a while. But yes, you can eat shark. So yeah, so this whole idea that people Sorry. Gotta type in stuff. But yeah, as I was saying, this whole idea you'd eat a shark, it's alright. It's about fish. It is fish, so yeah. This whole idea of like helping, like I said, being in biology and seeing the way that every field seems to be tending to lean towards this like monetary value type thing, or this whole idea of like it must help humans or we don't, in plain terms, be bad, but give a shit. It really bugs me and I hate it. My field of botany that I've studied for a while, I've been going that way, in a way of that like they don't really care so much. I mean, not saying it's not around, because obviously it still is, but for the grand, like the general picture and for the majority of the stuff, like they don't really care about vegetation anymore. They don't care about flowers or plants or, you know, like species, you know, and biodiversity and all this cool stuff that makes everything like ecology flourish. It's been about crops. All we care about is crops and agriculture. And they've turned basically this whole dynamic, awesome, diverse field of botany, whether it be, you know, vegetation, taxonomy, anatomy, physiology, paleobotany, which is study of like old fossilized plants, into basically freaking agriculture, and it sucks. One, from a, you know, career aspect and job aspect, but just in general, because like we don't care. All we want is crop. I mean, even I work in biofuels and I enjoy, you know, and I get it and I like it, but it's kind of like I talk to the people around there and they're like, biofuels and crops, and I'm like, biodiversity? So we have these basically monocultures, can't even talk now, that basically kill biodiversity. They're awful for it. And people don't care. Like crops destroy soil. I mean, obviously you have a bunch of techniques to do more, and it kills biodiversity, which hurts overall ecology. It basically inhibited gene flow, and it sucks. And that's just from my field per se, but it seems to be happening in a lot of ways. The biggest thing, that's why I bring this up, because we talked about a little bit, we touched on it at the end, but ecotourism versus like fishing, and it's kind of the same aspect instead of fishing, but in hunting. We haven't done an episode on this stuff. I don't know how much would be in the podcast, considering what we do, but there are podcasts out there, and I've listened to a few, and I kind of know about that whole black rhino thing, where basically black rhinos were an endangered species. There's very few left of them. And what they did is they sold these tags, very rare tags, for $250,000 for somebody to hunt this black rhino. So these giant, like, rare hunting things, or even hunting licenses, essentially what they do is, this is money. They allow you to kill an animal or kill animals for a certain period of time. They take the money, then they redistribute the money and allocate it through the conservation places to help them protect the actual species and other species within the area. So, like in the black rhino case, it's a giant reserve. They hunt the black rhino. They paid $250,000. The $250,000 then go to reserve, whatever you want to call it, in Africa. They take that money. They contribute to more equipment, more, you know, stop poaching, you know, more food, land, upgrades, everything else. But the downside is essentially, then they get to come on there and kill an endangered species. And it's a very tricky, weird thing to look at. And it's been happening more and more. Like, Africa is huge with it. People pay like $1,000 to go hunt, like, basically what's equivalent to deer in Africa for every one they kill. And it's like, well, these things are like overpopulated here. You know, there's, you know, hundreds of millions of them, and it's like, or thousands, and it's like, that money generated. And so it's great on one side of the coin, but it's hard to say, like, we're conserving and helping things by killing things. It's weird. So, like, the reason I bring all that up, because it's ecotourism versus fishing, where basically some places we talk about, A shark is worth basically $100 dead. I think it can be up to about $600 depending on how much they charge for shark fin soup and where it's sold at. Versus, like in some cases, they said $1.9 million alive. That's for ecotourism. So basically, if we go into, say you go to South Africa, great white killed is worth $600 because of fin for shark fin soup. Whereas you do ecotourism where they do a lot of shark cave diving and whatnot, it's worth, like I said, almost $1.9 million. I don't know if it's exactly where they're paying, but basically the point is it's about $500. So you basically pay $500 to go out on a boat. That's per person. At least this is when it used to, probably even more now. When we did it, it was probably a good $200 a person, I believe. I don't even remember exactly the exact price when we went out on a boat and went and got to jump in the cage and whatnot and look at all the Galapagos sharks swimming around us. But yeah, so every time that happened per person, I mean, you bring a family of 4 at $2,000 right there at that price, just to see that one shark at one time. So if there are 2 sharks, I guess you could divide it, and that's just like for one trip. And so you time that by, let's say they do like 20 trips a day. All of a sudden, that's like $2,000 times 20. That's like $40,000. If I can do my math right. Yeah, and that's just for like one day. That 4 people. And so I mean, when we went out there was like groups of like, I don't know, 20 people out there that we went into groups of like 6, you know, in the cage or so. And I mean, 20 people times what we had, that, I mean, that's a lot of money, you know. And you go out there and it's only an hour and a half. I mean, you refuel the boat. I mean, besides the overhead costs, which I mean are probably a little pricey, but yeah, you could definitely see how just looking at sharks and the fascination that people have with sharks, how this money can rack up really easy. And bring that up too, because it's crazy, because that's happening now with like parks. And the funny thing is, the biggest argument, as much as like I'm not necessarily a fan of what this does, but the biggest argument against it, or not against it, or for it, versus like the damn hippies, is like you see all the people saying this is horrible, but these people don't go to donate to conservation parks. They don't actually go to, you know, state parks. They don't give to conservation, you know, programs or donate, do any of this stuff. All they do is get on here and tell people like, hey, hunting's bad. How dare you kill the animal? Well, what did you do to protect it? Well, I didn't go outside and I sat on my tablet and I wrote on the damn internet. Where obviously the people that hunting, it's unfortunate they are killing people, but I mean, they are paying money to basically keep these places alive. Because like I said, now with everything having a monetary value, and I mean, look around, I mean, they're trying to kill national parks and state parks left by left because they're like, oh, we can put something here that's going to make money. Why the hell do we need trees? I mean, in my opinion, it's a terrible worldview, and I actually like nature and find science and natural sciences of, you know, ecology and other stuff fascinating, but when you have this monetary system where green means all, that's what tends to happen. And unfortunately, it sucks because some of the fields are going the same way. We keep state park and park rangers are like, I hate it and it sucks, but if we don't have these hunters come in, one, because they do have some population control when you get to deer and whatnot, because if you don't do that, they'll overrun and start damaging all the plant diversity, because as much people want to complain about their livestock killing or, you know, their precious little cute animals that happen to die, when plants start dying, biodiversity starts getting hurt from there, just a bigger problem. We tend to forget about that or not care. So this was the concept that I really want to talk about on this, and I find fascinating. I could probably do it. There's obviously plenty of podcasts and plenty of papers. There's actually entire papers that I've read on new conservation. Very fascinating. But it's something I want to talk about that I wouldn't even mind doing a podcast on something like this. But, like I said, probably not in a show works. I don't know how much that's pop culture. Yeah. So, yeah, but basically, I guess the main takeaway from all this is, if you don't want animals to die, or plants or thing, or even, I guess, somewhat the rainforest, or wherever you want to go to extreme, to be destroyed, even that's a whole different topic conversation that don't really want to get into right now. It definitely economics. But, then donate to your state park, donate to these conservation plays, donate to like prevent, overfishing, poaching, shark fin soup, all this stuff to protect these animals, to protect wildlife, to protect, nature, instead of sitting around doing absolutely nothing and blaming the hunters who, as bad as it is, are putting their actual money. Because some of these big game hunters are probably putting at least $100,000, $250,000 a year into hunting licenses and hunting badges and pins or whatever, tags. There we go. Couldn't think of the word. To do this stuff. And so, like, they may only kill 10 animals and it sucks. But that $250,000 that they generated for these parks keep this stuff up and running each year. It almost sounds like blood money, but unfortunately that's the society that we live in, where people give a shit but they don't actually do anything. So yeah. Or I mean, put it this way, or if you don't even have time, don't feel like you have money to do all that, go out to see your park. Because every time you go out there and you pay for anything to go see your parks, or actually when they have traffic through there, as long as you don't destroy it, that helps generate cause to get there. Or go take classes on it. Go out there and actually preserve. I don't know. I guess I've seen so many people these days try to tell things and post things and see it all over the internet, and you talk to people, and I'm like, I've worked with actual conservationist people who actually have been to the rainforest and the Amazon, and can't even think of, like Peru. They worked in they saved birds in the coast. People like they've been in the business, have made their careers off of this stuff, and they've been working, and it's crazy what they go through in their perspective compared to then some person who probably never took a step outside their probably renovation project freaking housing that they live in and say, how dare you do this? Go camp. Actually, camping sucks. Camping's a weird thing. Camping's one of the things that always sounds cool until you go camping, and then you get out there and you're like, oh yeah, I remember why this sucks. But anyways, enough of that ranting, I guess preaching type thing if you want to go with that. But it's something you should read into today. And I guess also we bring it that the fact that sharks have survived 4 mass extinctions and have been around for over 400 million years. But basically they're dying out now to fucking humans wanting soup that don't even eat them. I mean, like I said, it's one thing to kill a fish. You cut the whole fish. You eat the fish. I get that. I eat animals. I like bacon, And so it's one thing to hunt creatures and use all of their body, or use, majority of it and do everything. It's another thing when you're basically killing millions, 73%, I believe, was the number it came across, of murdered sharks a year. I'm gonna go with murdered. Screw it. Killed shark fish to literally cut off, if you're looking at the pictures, 1, 2, 3, 5 pieces, 5 little appendages, and that's it. And then throw basically the entire torso away. That's a waste of like 90% of the thing. Yeah. During this episode, I do like giving you shark facts. I knew a lot of these off the top of my head. I've known a lot of shark stuff. Like I said, I started out as a computer engineer, but I did go to marine biology for a while. One of the great biology schools in the country, or marine biology schools in the country, for a little bit before magically ending up with plants. But anyway, so I do have somewhat of a background. I've always studied sharks. Well, I guess not really studied in a scientific endpoint, but like learning about them and get between facts and like the fascination of them. I do want to give a shout out because I did find this guy on Twitter. He probably will never see it. I don't really care, but Dr. David Schiffman. He's at Why Sharks Matter. One, he does have Shark Week. He's a shark biologist, and it's awesome following his Twitter, what he posts. Definitely a very big advocate of I like Shark Week, but I hate Shark Week for what it's become. It's hard for me to say that because, I mean, much as I can tell the difference between some of the stupid stuff like the Megalodon crap and Michael Phelps racist shark, like, get out of here. And some of the whole thing of like, oh, why are they only doing like, shark attacks and like shark attacking people, or great white type stuff and all the aggressive species, versus like actual science stuff. Obviously, when it comes to the science, I try to get what I can because don't have the field, so I kind of have to either look some more or go there. But yeah, but reading some of that stuff, he definitely street sharks. We will not be going into street sharks. We have the video. We have the GIF. Vin Diesel with street sharks. That's it. Even though I do remember the show as a kid, but I can't recall anything else about it. Definitely not Vin Diesel GIF. Like the ad campaign, the Rob Lowe ad was, oh my goodness, that was ridiculous. Him riding sharks, holding chicks in bathing suits while other sharks look like dolphins flipping out of the sky. Weird thing. Hashtag Jossum. Cool thing about this other episode, since we brought up dolphins, is the fact that Kate learned also a real life thing that what people also like to tend to ignore, that animals are cruel and mean, and this is why you don't take nature like they're your pets. Dolphins can be mean, and they will kill, and usually don't do people or whatnot. Yeah, should have been. Dolphins aren't as mean, but they can be things. But killer whales, they're called, or orcas, they are called killer whales for a reason. Because they basically kill. They will kill people. They will kill animals. I keep being told street shark matter. They don't know. But they eat seals. Dolphins are assholes. I hate them. Dolphins can be assholes. They're also very good. They're also very intelligent. They're actually one of, at least from the last studies, they're very intelligent creatures. Except for when we go with the whole speech thing. If you ever want to study that's really interesting to look up, which is crazy because there is, unfortunately, there is validity to her actual study. She was doing communication with dolphins. People communication almost like dolphin talk. But the problem was the dolphins got bored and she ended up having to ejaculate the dolphins off a lot. And so when people found out that she was jacking off dolphins, it ended up going downhill from there. But her actual study and the information within the study, if you can get past that whole part, is actually quite interesting. Unfortunately, I believe it had to stop because people were very disturbed that she was jacking off dolphins. Or ejaculating, to be proper term. But yeah. So yeah. But orcas, back to them. Yeah, they kill people. If you've never seen it, if you are, I guess, squeamish of seals or a big fan of Team Seal that Shark Week has done, which I think is pretty cool what they have done with that. Team Seal versus Team Shark. Killer whales just play with seals. They play fetch with them. They flip them up on the air. There's video. Our other host, Kate, refused to watch it. As I saw, they would flip the seals like 30 feet in the air, and it's just, oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. Usually that's one. Go to YouTube, look at seals doing name. Yes, I'm being told hashtag Star Talk, hashtag Radiolab. Yes, those are two examples of the dolphin lady. And some of the stuff. But instead of just reading what they said, I told them to go find the thing. Be validity of reading if they can actually find the stuff. The whole many scientists have turned their back on thing. I kind of knew about this going on, but I wasn't sure of how much it was until I guess I started paying attention more for obviously this episode. But obviously, for those of you who don't know, you probably do know, I've been on Twitter for like 7 months, and I'm not really a big social media person, so I don't know the whole thing. But yeah, reading on there, there's plenty of scientists that definitely do the. Asked by our host, Adrian Hibbner, why didn't we talk about jacking off sharks? Because they do Shark Week has done shows, and I've seen it usually feeding frenzies or shark frenzies. From what I understand about sharks breeding, it can be very brutal. People, if they get involved or swim in that area, they try to have people tend to stay out of this time frame because it's basically like a giant, almost like, depending on how many round, like orgy thing, where they like literally just go up there and the males will just sit out there and bite at the females. They'll take chunks out of their skin and everything, and it's just like they just end up like abusive like craziness. Apparently, Discovery lied to them to use them in the docs. Quote up. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think I actually heard about that quite a few years ago. But I know some of the other stuff is basically because of some of the way their shows have been betrayed, and obviously that big section of Discovery when they did the Shark Week, I believe from 2013. I'd have to look at. Let me look here. 2013. Yep, the 2013 to 2015 stage. Basically, I don't want to say killed it, but it definitely hurt Shark Week so bad, and actually hurt the Discovery Channel really bad. This whole thing, there's still stupid people I know that believe there are megalodons out there because of that dumb show, and people now believe the mermaids are real and the Earth is flat because of stupid stuff like this. Ugh, makes me mad. Hopefully I didn't get too loud on there, because I remember seeing the mermaid thing, people coming there, oh my gosh, there's mermaids. I'm like, are you stupid? Like, no. And there's megalodons. You see this evidence? Unfortunately, as much as we have the new technology to help us discover things and find things in science, it's unfortunately technology's also caused this other end of the spectrum where just fake and garbage stuff can be either passed or played off as horrible science and not even close to science. Just bad. But yeah, to answer the shark breeding, yes, there's a lot of biting involved, a lot of hitting, bloodshed. I think some shark, depending on the species and selection, might actually die involved in this. It's definitely some, I guess if you try to portray it in human words, some kinky, like, domesticated, like, it's violent. It's crazy. Definitely very, very insane looking. I watched the Hammerhead show. Pretty good, yeah. Hammerheads are very fascinating. It's weird because people love hammerheads because obviously they're an awkward-looking shark. But I've never got into it. I think they're cool, obviously. I think also they have that cool thing with their eyes, the way their eyes work and the way they can't see. And I guess if we're wrong, I don't even know how much they are apex predator versus a scavenger. All I think about is I gotta think. There's a thing. I can't remember. Basically, your position of your eyes, whether they're directly in front or on the side, basically depends on how much you are vegetarian, scavenger versus hunter. Like usually they're derpy, yes. All basically like herbivores, usually their eyes are on their they're like lateral thing or peripheral vision because they don't need to see necessarily in front and whatnot. They're just picking up food. Whereas hunters usually, like we do, have their eye more towards the front so you can see better. And they followed around a prego shark to make sure it gave birth. Yeah, I believe it. I just remember the funny joke where people always said Tracy McGrady's not a great basketball player. He doesn't have that killer instinct because his eyes are on the side of his head. But that was it was mean, but it was a great joke that I always remember for that one. Getting tons of awesome emojis in here. But yeah, so as we're moving, the totally false and bad science shows, I don't know how much host selection been involved and whatnot. To me, I wasn't a fan of it. The common stingray, well, yeah, stingrays aren't, yeah, I believe it. I don't think, yeah, they eat stuff that's not, like, usually hard to get away from them, but they're not, like, super big, like, they're definitely not, like, the apex predators that, like, do to, like your bull sharks, tiger sharks, and, great whites and so forth that have their, even makos, per se, that have their eyes more towards in the front of their head. I do believe host selection is a big ordeal. I don't know why. I guess because to me, that's the person, I know it wasn't as big of a deal and they've done more of host and it's obviously about other stuff. But I guess growing up, I know they didn't have as many hosts as well, but I guess the ones I do remember, like I remember Nigel being on there. I remember the Mythbuster stuff all the time with Big. I remember Les Strauss stuff. I know micro, not necessarily thing, but I do remember what they catered to him, which, at least from my thing, they catered to him was like he was a dirty job in the middle, like for the blue collar, and so he looked at the blue collar job that involved sharks and other types of stuff. And so that was cool, but I don't know, I'm just not a fan of what they've done with this stuff. I mean, I don't know, they got YouTube celebrities and comedians, personalities. You put Andy freaking Samberg on there. I know Kelly's a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Andy Samberg. I'm sorry. I know it's probably more of an act and how he acts and whatnot for his shows and whatnot. Personally think he's an idiot. But, like I said, that's probably more of just how he acts and what he portrays his character, per se, than the actual person. Because obviously I haven't met him, so it'd be unfair for me to say him in a real comedic or acting way that he's an idiot, but every character he plays, I think he's an idiot. And it's hard for me to even think it's funny. I know people love him, think he's hilarious. I don't know. Maybe I don't get it. I don't. Hey, how you doing, D Jackson? So yeah, host selection to me, I think is huge. At least from what I remember. She said she hated him. Oh, I thought she said she actually liked Andy Samberg on. She liked Andy Samberg as what he does, but she did not like him when he hosted the actual Shark Week. From what I remember, what she said. Yeah, but anyways. Going back to host selection, I think it just sets the tone. I guess, like I said, I remember the early 2000 ones, and obviously up to 2000. But why the PC? Will Chris Pratt win an Oscar for Best Actor? In what movie? Don't recall him in a shark movie off the top of my head. Only at the raccoon. He didn't play a raccoon, did he? Yeah, in the early, the 90s didn't have as many, like I said, but I guess I do remember somewhat, and I do remember Peter Benchley, obviously, and what he did. I remember hearing about I remember reading about his whole story, I guess his biography type stuff of how, he wrote these books. And he wrote the books about, killer sharks, rogue sharks, wrote Jaws, and then how much it just seemed to decimated him. In fact, Chris Pine had it in me. Yeah. It just decimated him for writing Jaws and per se and all the other stuff. The guy, he spent 40 years of his life dedicated to conservation and education. That's after writing Jaws and everything. That's just crazy. Like I said, there's an entire, we said in the episode, there's an entire awards, oceanic conservation awards named after him, and so it's just kind of I don't know. He fascinating story, amazing guy, and like I said, even these people that I told you that maybe you don't have the money or you don't have time, but just even education on conservation. And just promoting, education in general, obviously I say conservation, but, education of conservation, education of wildlife, education of ecology can even help versus, don't you dare do that. Because I kind of went back to the whole thing about the hunter thing, but, some of the hunters I've met, I know a lot of them. For some reason, I know a lot of hunters, but I've never actually gone hunting. I don't know why. I've been opposed of it. I've just never do it. I think I don't like getting up so early. Usually you freeze your ass off for about 3 hours to see maybe you get one shot. But, yeah, so But yeah, so like these hunters, like they like respect nature like a lot. I mean, usually when they kill all these animals, I'm not saying they don't do it for fun or sport, but a lot of them they like do it to eat, and they cook and they eat, and they make so much. Cook when they shoot a deer, they cook venison. They make jerky, the other types of steaks, and cook stuff. You have your pelts and make other stuff, and skins, and maybe even taxidermy stuff. And it's just like amazing how much they do with it. I mean, yeah, it's not because you did kill an animal, but I mean they do it for a reason. I mean, obviously people enjoy it and it's fun to them, but they don't just sit out there like going out here just shooting everything. Now there are people like that and whatnot, but I don't know. A lot of the hunters that I've met, they have a very, even like fishermen that do it, they usually fish, want to enjoy it to get food, and if they aren't going to eat it, they toss it back. But no, as I said, he wrote some awesome books. I can't remember the name off the top of the head of one of them. I believe I've read at least part of one of them. I know that because he started writing these definitely in his end of his years before he died. Nigel Marvin's a host. Hopefully it's same. I mean, I don't know. I just feel the host selection dictates what you're going to do in your opening thing. This year they took out the guy Eli Roth. Whatever. And they led with, and I guess also like, what are you setting the tone with? I mean, they set the tone with Michael Phelps races we can't even say shark anymore. It's a CGI shark. He races a computer. He races pixels. I don't know. I hope they're getting back to what they do. Because I'm sure there've been some stuff even when I was growing up that might have been, made people mad and perturbed, and whatnot. All hosts must be Australian. You know what? I'm totally fine with that. I'd be fine with that. But I think they'll get back. Obviously, as the week goes on, we'll get to see more. Like I said, good thing to do for any of you that made it this far through. Hopefully we're still hanging in there. I know this has been kind of a long one. But follow actual biologists on social media if you can. They do a pretty good job. They will tell you whether they think it's good science or bad science. Because the one thing people tell you is they'll definitely disagree. They'll say, like, I have data that says this is wrong. Like, I believe I saw the other day, somebody was like, I have data saying some of these currents or what these sharks are doing following things this is what's happening. They spent an hour for a 38-second race. Yes, I know. I went and looked all this stuff up to make sure I could talk about it. Yeah, it would definitely. Yeah. Like I said before, put him in the tank with it. We'll see if he's gonna win. Yeah. Hopefully, they obviously got rid of, the best thing they did was they got rid of, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but filling everything in, rounding out. The best thing they did, 2015, like I said, the new president said, we're not having this anymore. They're trying to bring back some, like, actual, I guess, validity to the Discovery Channel, which is good, because as much as, it was funny, because I don't have TV, like I said, for last year, but when I did, before I guess, moved out, like, I don't even know how many years ago that was, so many years ago, I found myself, instead of watching, like, obviously I don't watch the Learning Channel. That thing's been dead for a while. History Channel, whatever. But even Discovery Channel, I found myself, I end up finding myself watching the Science Channel, which is awesome. I don't know what they're doing nowadays, but the Science Channel was great. I love the Science Channel. If you ever get a chance to go to a Science Channel, I'm going to go for it and say yes. Watch it. Also, what Nat Geo, even though Nat Geo does a little bit of things, which I don't know how I feel, because they're not like they're bad, but they have like the little meerkats, Meerkat Manor, where they follow a bunch of meerkats and like groundhogs around, and they like do like almost like family times of meerkats. I believe that's the National Geographic. It could be something, or it might be Animal Planet that does that. My bad. I don't know how I feel about it. It's definitely not a thing, but it definitely can't be bad because at least it deals with animals, and they're just having fun with animals. Another thing, for those of you around, if you have a chance, I like to promote this. Not sponsored. They should sponsor me at this point. I hope they do. But Curiosity Stream. It's like Netflix, but for documentaries. And have it again this year. Been a few months since I watched it. Been a little slacking. Do the thing. I highly recommend it for people for educational purposes. The guy who made Discovery, I believe, or one of the CEOs from Discovery, I can't remember exactly thing. He actually been off and made this. It's way cheaper than Netflix these days, and you literally have, it's nothing but documentaries upon documentaries, and just like science shows. You can basically, if it's science related, history related, civilization related, they have it. Space related, it's awesome. I get to watch all the Brian Cox shows over and over again. They have stuff on dinosaurs. They have stuff on planets. They have stuff on like Mars, land moving, NASA. They have stuff on like every probably old ancient civilization you can think of. It's awesome. I highly recommend it to people. It's been getting better. They keep adding new shows. I don't know how it's gone for so far, but I totally recommend it. I mean, was it 12 months in a year? I think I have the HD version. I think I paid $64 for a year. Done. 12 months, and that's with the HD version. I think I could cut out the HD version, which probably meant to, and I forgot to. For even cheaper than that, I think it's like 12 times 4, maybe $48 maybe a year. Maybe that. Yeah. Or no. Maybe $3 or $4. So $36 and $48 a year. That's it. It's way cheaper than Netflix Disney days. You get to learn things. And these are actual shows. Like David Attenborough's on there. Brian Cox is on there. I'm sure Bill Nye's on there somewhere. We should check out that episode as well. That's our goal. That's my goal. Podcast goal is one day be sponsored by Curiosity Stream. I'm going to make this happen. But anyways, let's see if we have any questions here before I wrap this up and whatnot. I know we've had some chatter going on here. Let's see what we got going on. Music's ending. Obviously, for you guys don't know, when I have to sit here because the stream is on delay, and so then it takes like 10 to 15 seconds for them to then hear me, and so then I have to wait for them to respond. Plus, I want to drink. It's also hilarious the chat always goes on and whatnot, and then when I ask for like wrapping up for questions, nobody has questions. I guarantee when I wrap up here in a second, everybody's gonna have a question. Okay. So one other thing, give me somebody. By the way, last final thought. Give me somebody like Nigel Marvin, who ran a freaking London Marathon. One who can run a marathon. I want to see Andy Samberg run a marathon. And for who is my ideal host for the future? You know, honestly, I know they kind of need a TV personality, I guess, per se, because they want to be able to sell the host. I really think, man, I'm so far out of the shark community these days. I think you should really go get a marine biologist. Even if it's happened to be a celebrity marine biologist, get a marine biologist. If you can get a shark scientist or shark conservationist, do it. Or give me somebody, actually, if you can't do that, give me an ecologist. Here's a freaking Discovery Channel. Your whole goal is about learning. Give me somebody that actually can connect, actually knows somewhat what they're talking about, even if it's not oceanic way, but they can talk ecology-wise, or they just kind of know the point of conservation in biology. Just like every single stupid other thing, it seems like. Sorry if the anger came out a little flipping. Where they just start putting people on the head of like science programs and science stuff and science this, and they have people who are unqualified and have no idea what they're talking about that might be a little enthusiastic ahead. Give me somebody who actually either studies in the field, been in the field, find a survivalist. You have so many shows now, I'm sure. I didn't even mind when they took their own shows from people. I mean, like I said, if they happen to get, like, Nigel Marvin, like I said, he never really technically, I mean, he worked with some shark shows, but he wasn't a big shark person. He's more of a zoologist. I mean, even though I studied animals, and fish are kind of animals, but fish is more of an ichthyologist, I believe. But, yeah, he knew what he was doing. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I googled each of the people from 2010 to 2017 for at least 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes searching all of them, and literally couldn't find crap that they'd done that had anything to do with conservation besides the one person who basically, it's kind of a good cause, but then it's kind of like he was also trying to sell a movie. You mean Left Drive was good. Heck, give me freaking oh, I can't even think of the heck name. Not Survivor Man, but give me Bear Grylls. I'd take Bear Grylls, even though he's personality, but at least he did something. I'll take that. Like I said, if they have to get a personality that's like, for that, I understand that because of TV purposes, so Nigel Marvin, like I said, as much as he's done with saying, he's not research type thing, not so much research as he kind of like learning, but yeah. I know Bear Grylls, what he's doing these days. I'll take a Bear Grylls. I know he used to be involved, and he actually had a few Shark Week shows. I don't know if he wasn't ever a host apparently, but he was involved for a little while. I do remember that. Okay. Yeah, anyways, I think that should be it for this one. We can wrap this bad boy up here, unless there's any other questions while I go. Yes, by the way, great whites breaching the surface. I know it's messed up, but it's so awesome to watch. Oh, it's so awesome to watch. Majestic creatures and such things, like the amount of speed, force, acceleration, to have to be able to breach yourself that high out of the water. And for those of you who don't think it's that hard, try jumping out of a swimming pool. Let me know if you get out. Yeah. So, this has been the, wrapping it up one. So, for everybody, this has been The Other Side of the Wormhole, episode 26, Shark Week Matters. I really enjoyed this episode. Once again, I want to thank our guest Kelly, who came on as well. Make sure to check out her podcast. Obviously totally different, Murder Dictionary Podcast. They talk about people killing people, not so much killing sharks. But yeah. Like I said, I've been your host, Matt. Thanks for joining me. Make sure to check out But Why Though Podcast. Where you can find us. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us. Always helps us out when people find us. So much as you enjoy us, the next person can do. That'd be on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn. Don't know what it is. One day we'll. Also, you feel free to hit us up on any social media if you'd like to be involved in any of this. As in, But Why Though Podcast PC on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, if you actually like to watch the videos for those who missed it, you can find these on our YouTube channel, But Why Though Podcast, or our website, butwhythoughpodcast.com. Thanks for having fun, and we can end it right. Oh, I guess not. I thought the music was cutting out, but we're going to end it now.